A very good morning to you. Welcome back to the channel. I hope I find you well. I'm Jenny Kirk, welcoming you up here to the loft on Weir Yard. Now today we're going to be talking budget DCC decoders, that is. And it's something that for a long time it's never ceased to amaze me, that people will spend hundreds of pounds on their all new, all singing, all dancing model locomotive and then studiously find the cheapest decoder on the market to put in it, and then suffer stuttering performance, mystery decoder failures, and warranties that are little more than "you bought it, your problem now." Well, today I've been sent a full set of budget decoders and also some stay alives to go with them from a new company called AE Models. These come in at that super low price point, but they promise smooth motor control, brownout protection as standard on the decoder so you don't get that stuttering performance, and a 12-month warranty. And if you're having problems with them and there's no outward sign of damage, you can send them in to be tested to confirm if they're faulty. If they are, they will no quibble replace like for like free of charge. And this is something that you really won't see from pretty much any other decoder manufacturer, is that if you have accidentally blown your decoder and it is your fault, they will give you a 50% credit against a replacement decoder. So I'm going to be seeing today, do these really live up to expectations? Come with me in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Check out the full range for sale today through tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support for today's video comes from All Mouse Media, publisher of books and graphic novels, which can be found at the link down below. Check them out today, including the amazing Stars books. I'd also like to take the moment to tell you about the all-new category in this year's Hornby Magazine's 2022 awards, and that's for Model Rail YouTuber of the Year. I'm incredibly grateful to the readers of Hornby Magazine who nominated this channel as one of the 10 to be put forward to the public vote for who will win that coveted award. And I'd very much like to ask you that if you enjoy watching this channel, you head on over to the link in the description box down below and fill out the survey, and please, please, please vote for this channel. So come with me and let's see whether these AE Models decoders live up to the promises that they've made, and are they really the all-new budget level DCC decoder that's the only serious choice if you really are determined to pay as little as possible for your DCC decoders. I'm really interested to take a look at these. They're from a company that I hadn't really heard of before, AE Models, and they're a range of decoders and stay alives that have come onto the UK market, and you may have seen them from a large number of bricks and mortar retailers, and certainly today we're going to be providing a link to two of those. One of them is going to Great Eastern Models that have a very, very active presence on Facebook. So we've got a link to their Facebook page down below. And the other is the established TMC, the Model Centre, and they also carry the full stock of these AE Models decoders. Now, when it comes to DCC fitting your model, one of the things that I hear time and time again is that people don't want to spend a lot of money on the decoders. What they actually want to do is spend that money on the locomotives, on the rolling stock, and they see these almost as like a tax to be able to run on DCC, and they think that actually they're saving money by buying the cheapest that they can find on the market. And that cheapest brand for a very, very long time has been plagued with issues, and that's where these AE Models coming in at about the same price bracket really are a game changer. Of course, it wouldn't be this channel without really putting that to the test. So what I've got in front of me that's been sent over for review is the full range of the AE Models. So I've got the 6-pin direct plug decoder here. and that looks to be pretty much the same size, NMRA standard. That's going to fit in any of the 6-pin decoder fitted locomotives, things like N-gauge models and some of the smaller 00. We've got over here 21 pin with a standard 21 pin interface, and again exactly the same size and form factor as we're used to. 8-pin decoder, and this actually comes with a kind of loom plug, which does make this quite a good choice if you need to hardwire a decoder in. It means you hardwire the plug and then the decoder itself plugs in afterwards. Really great way to plug different decoders in should you need to, should you want to, and also you can do soldering without the decoder having to be present. This is actually quite an interesting decoder. This is a 3 amp output and it's designed for things like LGB or O gauge, but actually I think that this would be equally at home DCC fitting some of the much older brands and models. So for example, I could see this going into, say, a Hornby 00 locomotive from the 1960s, and the reason for this is that some of the older models do pull a much higher load. If you put one of these in, you're running the risk of actually overloading it and blowing it. But with this, you've got a lot extra power that can be drawn by those power-hungry older locomotives, but also it's got a power cutout. If there's any kind of a fault or a problem, or the motor starts to draw way too much power, it doesn't cremate itself. It's got an actual lockout. It'll literally turn itself off to prevent damage. And I think that that is going to be a great option for some of these older locomotives or some of the really big ones like LGB that you might run in the garden. And you can see here it's got a whole host of screw terminals to make it really easy to fit this to a locomotive. They've also sent over a couple of the stay alives, and there's one stay alive does everything. It's a 2-wire stay alive. They come in just one size, and I'm going to see just how well they work on these decoders too. You may have noticed on them that we've got these 2 wires, black and blue, off every decoder, and they're for the stay alive. All you do is solder blue to blue, black to black, a little bit of heat shrink to protect the join, and that's how you connect these stay alives to these decoders. And it's the same stay alive for all of these decoders, including that super high power one. First up, I'm going to try fitting the 21 pin decoder to one of the all new Accurascale Deltics and just see how it performs. The Deltic is able to pull quite a huge train. It also has a lot of different lighting functions, so I'm really interested to see just how well this copes with a multi-light function model. It's really easy as well to get into the Accurascale Deltic, and I'm going to very carefully ease out the existing decoder. I'll just tuck those unneeded stay alive wires out of the way. And we'll get this now onto the layout with a long rake of coaches. I want to try out those different lighting functions and just see how well they perform. Drive pickup is pretty smooth, slowdown is pretty smooth, and this is with no change to any of the CV settings. So again, there's no jerkiness to the response there, it just picks up and goes. So I'm going to see if I can get the headlights on. Headlights are coming on just fine, and actually I've managed to get marker lights running as well. You can just see the marker lights coming on at the same time. So at the other end of the model, F2, you just see the marker lights coming on. F3. What is apparent is that the actual lighting functions on this are 6 full power, and what that means is that it's not getting the logic level that I think the model is expecting. So unfortunately it does mean we're not getting internal lights on this model, but that's no different to the DCC Concepts Zen decoder that was already in this, so it's still performing exactly the same. In terms of smoothness and response, it really can't be faulted. I've not had that level of smoothness from any other brand of super cheap decoder. I've got the locomotive now at the head of what is actually quite a long train. There's about 15 Mark 1s behind it. And this is something that with that original Zen Black decoder in, the locomotive had no difficulties and had a really smooth speed up and slow down. I'm going to give it an immediate 10 on the speed steps. And you can see it pulls away really smoothly despite the load. I'm then going to increase one at a time to 15, up to 20, and the locomotive has no issues whatsoever. It's a really good, smooth speed step response on what is actually a very long, in fact unprototypically long train. So what we saw from that test run was that the locomotive performed faultlessly with the AE model's decoder. The actual speed envelope and acceleration and deceleration was absolutely perfect. The model responded smoothly and was not put off by that long train. There was no juddering of the model either. When we tested the auxiliary functions, what is apparent is that the AE model's decoder is a 6 full power function decoder. And that means that on a model such as this that is expecting a 4+2 logic decoder, and that essentially means that the final two functions are logic level rather than full power, this decoder isn't able to access them. But that's no different from the Zen Black decoder. Also, it should be pointed out that the dirt cheap decoders that are on the market tend to be a 4-function decoder anyway, and in those areas this AE model's decoder will activate those 4 functions just as well. It's also perfect for models such as the Daypol Class 8 shunter in O gauge that requires 6 full power decoder auxiliary outputs, and the AE models will be more than able to drive that. For the next experiment, I've chosen an 8-pin chassis loco, in this case an older Bachmann Class 25. And what I'm going to do is very carefully just remove the decoder that's already in here so we can have free play of the model. And I'm going to run it first with just the decoder in and just see how well it performs when I put some masking tape on the track. The 8-pin decoder is, again, really easy to fit. We have this wiring loom, and then we have the decoder with the stay alive wires fitted on them. It's simply a case of orientating the plug the correct way up, and it has just some little notches inside that you can see there that match up with the plug to make sure that you get it the right way round. And then it just clicks in place. And then we just fit the decoder into place. And I'm just going to tuck that at this end here. Really easy to fit. As you can see, DCC fitting doesn't have to be difficult. For the next experiment, I've got the AE Models decoder fitted Class 25 chassis all on its own, and I've put a length of masking tape over the track, which is the ultimate extreme of dirty track. There's going to be no power collection from that. And I'm going to give the model +10 on the speed steps. Now it should keep going until the final axle reaches that masking tape. And there, it just stops dead. I'm now going to fit that stay alive and we'll repeat this experiment. Fitting the stay alive is really easy. In fact, on this 8-pin decoder, it's made even easier still by the fact that we can just unplug the decoder, then give ourselves plenty of space to be able to work on the cutting mat. I'm going to use the wire strippers here to just bare the ends of the wires, give them a little bit of a twist just to make sure they're all clean and tidy. And first things first is just to tin these. This will stop the individual threads of the wire from just going in all wild directions. So just dip that into the flux. and then with a little bit of solder on the soldering iron, it's really easy. Quickly tin them, and that's that bit done. Getting one of these stay alives, same size form factor packaging. Just going to take that out, and again we need to prep. Oh, actually, on the stay alives you'll find that the wires come pre-prepped. AE models can't do this with the decoder because these bare wires, if the stay alive is not attached, could cause a short inside the locomotive. Just going to dip these down into the flux, and then this is the bit that most people forget to do until after they've done the soldering. Just get some of the heat shrink and feed it down. I'm just using whatever colours I happen to have to hand. If you want, you can colour coordinate, but I don't really think it's necessary, as long as you get the heat shrink over the joins just to protect it from any kind of shorts. And then what I'm going to do is connect blue to blue, and this is just a very, very delicate dab. Wait for it to set, check the join, and then we can slide the heat shrink over there and just use the heat from the soldering iron to activate the heat shrink and bring that down over the wire. The wires are quite thin, so just make sure you get that heat shrink fully shrunk down so it grips that wire. And then it's simply a case of repeating the process with the second wire. Add the smallest amount of solder to your soldering iron tip if you need to. I like to bend these up just so they're not resting on the mat. Then a little touch. Check it's got a good join. If you've got a poor join, then when you give it a little light pressure, you'll find it'll just pull apart, and then you need to go again. Let's just slide the heat shrink over that join, and again, once more, carefully with the heat from the soldering iron, you can just shrink that down over the wire and make sure that that join is protected from any unforeseen shorts. And it really is as simple as that. We now just refit this into the locomotive. If you think that this is too much wire for your needs, you can always trim these wires before you solder them together. Moving back to the layout, and we've got the same test setup, the same masking tape on the track. I'm going to give it 10 again, and let's just see how well this performs. There's no adjustment with CVs on this, it's all or nothing, and you can see there the difference that this stay alive has made. In fact, it's gone straight off the other end of the masking tape. For this experiment, I'm going to use a Bachmann Class 3 shunter chassis which has a 6-pin decoder socket, and in this I have got this lace DCC decoder, which seems to be the cheap and cheerful one that people are going for despite its shortcomings, and I'm going to compare this like for like with the AE Models 6-pin decoder. With the loco on the track, I'm going to give it 10 on the speed steps, and nothing happens. I've just placed it on the track, I didn't clean anything. I'm just going to give it a bit of a nudge, and you can see it stutters. It's really not massively happy, and it's the kind of performance that actually really doesn't set the world alive. And I've set it to go the other way, and there it just explodes. Some very, very strange responses. I'm going to change its direction, and it's not responding. And there suddenly it decided to respond. It's making some really quite angry buzzing noises. And let me just take that off and double check that. Honestly, lace decoders, changing direction. You saw me change that. Right, here, come here, you. No, you. What are you doing? Change direction. It really is not playing ball. I fitted the AE models decoder. I'm going to give that speed step 10. And we've got a much smoother pickup from the model. This does feature brownout protection. I'm going to go for that direction change, and you can see it just responds. That is exactly what you want from a decoder. You don't want what that lace one was doing, which was kind of doing its own thing. And I'm going to change its direction again. And that's really nice and smooth. The brownout protection is like having a very, very small stay alive on board that just stops the decoder from those momentary stutters from just stopping and then having to go through the restart process. Every time I hit that direction change, it's just responding. And you can see there was a stutter, a bit of dirt, there's no stay alive, but the brownout protection saved it. The AE models decoders provide really great value. They're some of the lowest priced decoders out there on the market, but low price doesn't mean lacking in functions. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video and found it informative, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. What do you think of these decoders? Certainly they've been starting to appear up and down the country in model shops, available to buy and also available for getting the shop to DCC fit your models with these decoders. And it's always great to get feedback from the modelling community. Also, don't forget to tickle that like button, share this video too, and also subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so to be the first to know about new videos as they get uploaded. And also, please, please, please don't forget to vote for this channel if you really love these videos in the 2022 Hornby Magazine's Model Rail YouTuber of the Year Award category. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying take care, happy modelling, bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support for today's video comes from All Mouse Media, publisher of books and graphic novels, which can be found at the link down below. Check them out today, including the amazing Stars books. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Offshore Allen, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Sparky 107107, George Botterini, Chris Moss, Robert Steers, Sam Yates, Dale Williams, John N from NC, NYMRish, Jonathan Foster, Peter, Clifford Ison, Larry W. Grant, NI Railways 4000 class, Ian Coulson, Alan Dickerson, Eddie Popper, Karen Nichol, Medwin Williams, Crossways Point Junction, 3B Rail, and Jennifer Garrett. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.